you remember how I was concerned about how Joe Biden had terrible underlying numbers, and that's why he had no chance of winning. And obviously, that turned out to be correct. His own advisors said near zero chance by the end. Well, now there's news about how Kamala Harris has incredible underlying numbers. So I'm going to tell you the top line numbers, who's winning. I'm going to tell you why I think Kamala Harris now is in terrific shape because of some of those underlying numbers. And then a place where, I think people are kind of getting it wrong. So it's actually, well, we'll see. We'll see. And it's a very hard thing to predict. But one of our sponsors is Polymarket. They have these markets on, who's going to win. There's a hilarious one about Trump that I'll tell you about a little bit later. But right now, they've got Kamala Harris losing in their presidential race 50 to 48. And I don't think that that is correct. I think Kamala Harris is definitely the favorite. There's some things that can make a big difference against her. And I'll tell you about those two things in a minute, too. But first, let me share with you guys what I think is. And look, everything we talk about, of course, we have more of on the live show, weekdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. We're live. It hits different live. You're going to love the live show, a lot of action and engagement with the audience. So make sure you're checking it out right here on Young Turks YouTube channel, weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be Anna and I today. Okay, so um, first, let me tell you why I think Kamala Harris is surging in a way that is very interesting. So last election, we had over two-thirds of eligible adults show up to vote, which is amazing. It's a big, giant number. That's actually the most in over 100 years in America. But this time around, the number might be even higher. Okay, so what we're looking for here is enthusiasm. So when you look at enthusiasm, there's a new poll out that shows you something very interesting. It's from Gallup, so it's trustworthy. So Trump used to be leading when Biden was in the race. That's unsurprising. I'm actually a little bit surprised that his lead wasn't larger, but 59% of Republicans at that point said they were excited about this election and couldn't wait to vote, more enthusiastic than usual about voting. And only 55% of Democrats felt the same way. I'm surprised that it was over 50%. I can't believe people were excited to vote for Joe Biden, but bless their hearts, they really wanted to beat Donald Trump. That's really the main thing. But at that point, Trump's leading by 4, right? 59-55. So now, whoa, the situation is very different. Trump's actually gone up a little bit, and that's normal as we get closer to the election. So he's gone from 59 to 64 among Republicans enthusiastic to vote, more enthusiastic than usual. But Kamala Harris has not gone up 5 points. She's gone up 23 points. So, or the Democratic Party has because of Kamala Harris. That went from 55 to 78. That's a mega number. That's a giant number. 78% of Democrats saying they can't wait to vote. And you're going to see that in a second number I'm going to give you guys in a second. But again, that's enormous. Okay. So uh and voter enthusiasm matters a lot because, as even Charlie Kirk said on our show on at the DNC when we interviewed him, he's like, look, you can either try to get independent voters, where Kamala Harris is also doing way better, um or you can try to turn out your base. Well, this is Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party turning out their base, but they're going a little bit past their base, because the second number that's super interesting is an explosion in voter registration. Now, that does not happen often, and usually, especially in the last 10 years, especially in the Trump era, has happened more often on the Republican side. Now, why? Because there's something to vote for. You might disagree if you're a Democrat or an independent, but they were excited that they had a non-establishment candidate, or they thought they had a non-establishment candidate. They were excited there was going to be somebody who was going to drain the swamp and not a regular politician, etc. So unlikely voters started to register, and I talked so much about that in 2016 for Donald Trump, and I said that was his hidden advantage, and that turned out to be correct. So now it turns out Kamala Harris has that advantage. So one stat that's startling to begin with, and then but it's throughout a lot of demographics, as you'll see. 100 so for black women, young black women in particular, in 13 states that they're tracking, Um, right now, according to Target Smart, registration in that demographic has gone up not 25%, not 15%, not 55. Whoa, 55 would be a big number. It's gone up 175%. A mega number. Okay. Now, look, Kamala Harris is a woman. She's black, and she's a new alternative to the old people running both parties. So, young black women going up a lot makes sense. It's just 175% jumps out of the page. That's such a huge number. But also, young Latinas, black Americans overall, all these numbers are now surging and they're going higher and higher for Kamala Harris. That means unlikely voters now showing up on Kamala Harris's side rather than Trump's side. So when you look at the polling, Kamala Harris is up on national average about 1.5 points, and so that's not bad, but it needs to be higher. And as I've told you many times, in order for Democrats to win the electoral college at the national level, you really got to get to up 4 or 5 points. Now, you don't need that if you're winning the swing states, because the swing states are what determine the electoral college. But when you look at the swing states, they're still split. Now Kamala Harris has got a decent lead in Michigan and a 1 point lead in Wisconsin, which these days 1 point is like not bad. They're basically tied in Pennsylvania. If she wins all three of those, she wins the election. But basically tied in Pennsylvania. So in terms of the other swing states, Trump has less than a 1 point lead in all of them. So it's so tight, so tight when you just look at the snapshot of the polling. But remember, the polling does not include unlikely voters in most of the cases. And if you're newly registered, you're definitely an unlikely voter. So there's a secret hidden surge here for Kamala Harris that I don't think the numbers are picking up. So which brings me back to Polymarket. They're a sponsor of ours, and I think usually their predictive analysis is really strong. The best case for it was when Tim Walz surged up the VP rankings, and it turns out they were right, and it of course was Tim Walz, which was shocking overall. I'm going to get to the numbers in a second. First of all, Voice of Bootcamp LLC, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. I'll try to shout out both super chats and members as we go along. We appreciate anybody who signs up. Of course, hit the join button below to help support honest programming. You see me when no matter who I want to win, I'm giving you the real facts. It doesn't help to hide facts from people. Democrats and Republicans do it. These days, Democrats do it more honestly, where if they see bad numbers, they're like, shh, don't tell anyone. It doesn't make the numbers go away. Ignoring reality, ignoring the truth doesn't make it go away. So that's why I was telling you about the terrible numbers for Biden. But now I'm telling you, the numbers for Kamala Harris are, good, way better than Biden, and now surging. So as I look at what Polymarket's got for presidential election winner, Trump at 50, Kamala Harris at 48, not buying it. I mean, to me, who knows? You all make your own decisions. I'm not here to tell you how to vote, how to bet. It's how to vote a little bit, but definitely not on how to spend your money. But that Kamala Harris in that case in that market looks attractive to me. And again, not biased. They had Biden in the 40s, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. No, that looked very, very unattractive at that point. I wouldn't have bet on Trump because I thought Biden was going to drop out, but I certainly wouldn't have gone on Biden. And here, Kamala Harris looks good. I'm going to tell you one, but two. Hold on, there's two giant bogeys about Kamala Harris that I'll get to in 1 second, and then I'll tell you another hilarious market that they have. Voice of Bootcamp LLC. Thank you for joining, brothers and sisters. We appreciate you. Um, you know, companies joining makes a lot of sense. You get a nice free ad out of the read. But anyway, but we appreciate that you agree and that and you're supportive. Makes a ton of sense. We got actually tyt.com/sponsorships. Check that out. If you're a small business, you could actually get your name on the Young Turks. We're trying to help everybody here and create win-wins. All right. So speaking of winning or not winning, look, the two bogeys for Kamala Harris are the two W's, war and word salads. So if her word salads come back, that's going to be a big problem. But right now they haven't. Right now she's been terrific on the trail. Obviously, we're a little worried about the interview. I'm not too worried about the debate because if you can't beat Trump in a debate, we were going to lose anyway, right? I mean, my left foot could beat Trump in a debate. The new kitten we got can beat Trump in a debate. A dumpster fire can beat Trump in a debate. That's why when Biden didn't beat Trump in a debate, I was like, I told you, like he's worse than a dumpster fire. So anyway, but if Kamala Harris blows the debate, it's Trump has too big a base for Democrats to, and this election is too close, and Republicans win close elections because of the Electoral College. So she can't lose the debates. But if the word salads come back, that's a big problem. Or if we go to a giant war in the Middle East, that's a big problem. You don't know how that'll affect things because Trump might blow his reaction to the war. Who knows? But it certainly would scramble everything. But if those two things don't happen, I think Kamala Harris is the favorite, and because not only has she caught him, or almost caught him in all the swing states and the most important ones, but she's got the momentum. She's got now unlikely voters on our side. A lot of the advantage Trump had in the last two elections have flipped over to Kamala Harris, so that's super attractive in my eyes as far as which way to go. And then, all right, now the hilarious one that I wanted to mention to you guys is they have this thing that Michael, Ben, and I have been doing on the show forever, where and we did it during Biden's speech at the DNC, where we pick words that people will say and then we go over under. They made markets for it at polymarket.com. That's amazing. Okay. So, anyways, check it out. It's in this case, it's hilarious because what will Trump say during Wisconsin town hall? Number one of the top ones that people think he'll say is tampon. This is the state of our politics. This is the state of Donald Trump. That's at 51% likelihood. I mean, that would be at under 1% for all other presidential candidates in American history combined. Right? That they'd be talking about tampons. But Trump, 51%. And then look at all these. Comrade Kamala, at least 3 times, is at 48% because he's definitely going to say it once or twice. But is he going to get over 3? MAGA at 92, that's normal. Borders are at 82, normal. Alien, 5+ times, 59%. Fake news, 84%. Drill baby drill, 42. Fentanyl, 39. Marxist, 69%. There's nobody Marxist in American politics in the Democratic or Republican parties. Marxist is taking away all of your private property. You really think Kamala Harris is going to do that? Kamala Harris is more of a corporatist, not a Marxist or communist. If you call her a communist or Marxist, you have no idea about anything related to politics or policy. Nothing. Kamala Harris is much more likely to support corporate donors who are corporatists and give an unfair advantage to corporations over the average guy, not take away all the corporation's private property and give it to the average guy. She's you just totally ridiculous way of thinking, yet he says it in every rally. That's why Marxist is at 69%, right? So, I mean, just the list of things he says is hilarious and ridiculous and totally different than any other candidate we've ever had because his speeches are nuts. Look, if somebody looked at what um, Trump was saying in one of his rallies, like if you remove them from this current timeline, right? See, let's say it's 1998 to 2011, whatever, right? Pre-Trump, and you say that guy is a presidential candidate, gave this speech. Most people back then would be like, well, that guy's a joke candidate, like a third party loser at 0 or less than 0%, right? And if you told them, no, he's the Republican nominee and he's currently tied in the race for president, they'd be like, what? That guy? The guy talking about tampons nonstop? This deranged lunatic who's making up stories about how all the crowds are AI photos and Kamala Harris isn't black. She recently turned black. I mean, all the ludicrous things he says, getting into fights at Arlington 7. I mean, it goes on and on. We've got details on that story tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. So but that's where we are. That's the dystopia we're in right now. So it is what it is. And by the way, Dank Pearl, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. And so uh, we'll come back and see you guys in just a couple of hours. So make sure you're checking out the show today. But if you're, want Kamala Harris to win or really want Donald Trump to lose, good news today because there's an undercurrent of a surge here for Kamala Harris that could make a huge difference. SPK Lifestyle, uh, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, no, I hear you. There's people out there also saying she's polling worse than Hillary Clinton was at this time in her race, and Joe Biden was in 2020. Yes, but momentum matters. And so she was in a bigger hole than they were. Hillary Clinton started with a huge lead in a sense and blew it, right? Especially after DNC, she had a big lead. And I was like, she's not going to hold it because she's too establishment. He's good at faking populism, et cetera, et cetera. There's dynamics in those races that were very different. She's trying to climb out of the Biden hole. She's climbing out of it really well and now has momentum and unlikely voters. Last thing here. Zerg Jerk writes in, can we get a Trump bingo card, etc. Guys, make sure you're checking out TrumpBrackets.com because we're doing a contest of all the worst and craziest things that Donald Trump has said or done. And every time I look at those, I'm like, I'm amazed by it. And then you got to choose, like, is it putting disinfectant in your body or being great friends with Jeffrey Epstein? It's tough choices, but make sure you're participating because it's fun and it reminds you of all the crazy things that Donald Trump has done. So TrumpBrackets.com, check that out. And Nicholas, Karen, thank you for the super chat and thank you for the really nice words. All right, guys, I'll see you in a couple hours, 6 p.m. Eastern, weekdays. You know it. Everybody come check it out live. Make sure that you're sharing that stream and telling everybody about it because I like the communal atmosphere we have when it's live. We'll see you there.